Hi there. In this video we will be, I don't know, rebuilding, repopulating, basically installing all of that into two speaker enclosures boxes, because there's nothing in them, only the boxes themselves, and everything in here needs to be put in here, hopefully with minimum modifications, but remains to be seen. So the idea behind it, I bought this for about $10 the pair. I really liked the way they look like. LOEWE, actually I think it's LOEWE, something like that. LOEWE, yeah. And I think it means lion in German. I might be wrong though. So made in Germany, obviously. This is the brand, and this is the model, concert box LO26, article numbered, and hi-fi Lautsprecher box. 4 ohms, 30 watts, 15 watts max. But yeah, we'll be putting in them something else apart from the original speakers. I have never seen them. I got them empty again. These are some old Russian speakers, bass speakers, and they also go a bit, actually no, they kind of go up to 5000 hertz, or maybe even 6000, these ones. I will link to videos in the description where I take a look at this and test them. So they should be good in here. And these are tweeters from the my Audi A4. They got replaced with some Dayton audios, but I always wanted to reuse this, and I think they are a good match to this, and we'll see how everything sounds. And this from Dayton Audio. Thank you Parts Express for sending this in. Initially they were for another project, but I decided not to use them in that particular project. I will also link that in the description. I basically built some speakers out of beer kegs, and these were a bit too big, so I used only some simple capacitors for the tweeter, and that's about it. Anyway, so this cut at 4.5 kilohertz, which is good. This can handle that much, and this can start from there without problems. And normally they were 8 ohms. This is 8 ohms, this is 8 ohms, but I want to use them in parallel. So this, with one of these in parallel, we are at 4 ohms. Luckily, this particular crossover, two-way crossover, can handle having a 4 ohm woofer by just replacing this connector from the 8 ohm input to the 4 ohm one. I will do the same on the other one, but the crossover point will not change, which is awesome. And the tweeter needs to be 8 ohm, and this is 8 ohm, so we are good to go. Two in parallel 4 ohm, tweeter 8 ohm, exactly what this can handle. And this to replace these old ones that were basically in every old audio device. We'll be putting this in here. Let's get working. First thing, remove the screws all around and see what we have inside and how do these fit. I have no idea how they fit. We'll see. Hopefully they do fit well. The wiggling cable is from my phone because it's discharging while I'm filming. So yeah, let's see. You'll get the first impression together with me. Okay, first impression, this is thick. I like that. Oh, and we actually have the feel inside of it. Let's see. Okay, put this presumably around. Okay, easy to remove the old connection, no issues whatsoever, perfect. And this feel, maybe it's for both speakers in a single one, because it seems to be a lot of it. We will be doing tests with how much to put in. This is going to be a bit annoying. The big ones, are we lucky enough? We cannot be that lucky. It's as you can see, it's a minimum difference. I might be able to bend the screws and actually directly put the speakers in, which is awesome. At least that will be extremely simple. But I like it. These are thick speakers. These walls are really thick. Lots of glue. Nothing seems cracked. Yeah, a tiny washer from something. Maybe the original filters that were in here. Basically, there's a guy in a city near me that tears these things apart. Rubber, what should be in here, tears things like this apart and sells them in pieces. So yeah, somebody bought the speakers from this. But looking at this, yeah, I might need to cover part of the hole and make it wider in another direction. Not extremely hard. Luckily, you do not see them from the front, so it doesn't really look how it doesn't really matter how it looks. Let's see about this. Will it actually cover the hole? Yes, it will cover the hole. So this is good. Okay, so this plus tweeter, problem solved. The only issue remains with the mid-range because this had an oval speaker in there. Mid-range. For me, this will be doing bass plus mid-range, basically both of them. And this will be going higher. Without this, I will unsolder the capacitors. My phone not only doesn't have enough battery, but also doesn't have enough storage space. Awesome. I need to solve this problem somehow. Anyway, so I will need to remove the capacitor from the tweeter or just solder after it so it doesn't... Well, actually, no, I'm going to remove it. I could use it in other audio projects. So it's getting removed. But in theory, you could solder after it so it then just stays there and does nothing. Anyway, so there's that. Because this will do all the filtering, we do not need a capacitor. Thanks again, Parts Express, for sending this in. Let's see what we do now. First, I think we need to also remove the front, because we will be doing some cutting, so I don't want to destroy the front. And I'm expecting this to be all the screws for the front. Let's undo those and see what we get. And it's out. And from what I see, this plastic, I think, was injected over the mesh, so they are quite well put together. I will clean this obviously before assembling everything together. And yeah, so we have this thick wood, really sturdy. Then we have some spacers, so this doesn't resonate. And weirdly enough, on top of the wooden block, box, not block, we have this plastic all around, which makes it not have any joints visible on the outside. Yes, the paint is not perfect, but I'm not going to change it. I don't mind them having little scuffs on them. They are old. I don't want a full like new refurbish. Not my goal in this video. So yeah, let's see if we can fit those in, or actually maybe deal with this hole first and see how big it needs to be. There's fill also in the second speaker, so there's lots of it, and rubber from the bass speaker falling down. So I do have all 4 rubbers, which is nice. But at the end of the day, I think I will be moving the screws because there's too big of a risk of causing trouble by just trying to push them out of the way, maybe cracking the wood or something. So I will just drill different holes, much easier. Let's also tear this one down to this level. Put a piece of wood underneath. I'm scratching all around and I'm going to cut it and glue it in place. Another intermediary step, I need to remove all of these screws because I'm drilling new holes for them. These ones have nuts on them, the 4 from the base, so after you remove the nuts, the screw itself can be pushed down and taken out. But the problem is with these, they are held in place with elastic washers, so I might try to slowly hammer them tap on them and see if they start to release. If not, with screwdriver something, I need to remove those washers to get the screws out. Well, if it isn't idiot day. This came out quite easy, but this one, it seemed to be working initially, but then it stopped working. And when I hit it with the hammer again, it broke the wood apart. So, yeah, tried also to drill through the side of one of these. Then I realized I'm a moron because this is hardened steel, as those washers are elastic. That didn't work. What I'm going to attempt now, hopefully these pins are not hardened steel. I'm going to try and drill through them from the other side. If they are hardened steel, I'm back to square zero. Yay, seems to be working. So it's not a soft steel, but neither is it really hard, so I can drill through it. And then I need to figure out how I will fix this stupid thing that I did. I hate myself now. Made some progress. All the screws are removed. The ones near the tweeter, at the end of the day, I will not remove because they don't bother me, honestly. This one got removed, but on the other speaker I will not remove them. But for the second bass and mid speaker, I need to remove them. I would cut directly through them when I make my hole. Also cut this shape. It's a bit bigger because I want it to be a bit bigger. I want a perfect fit. So I prefer to file down a little bit. Also, I need to file down this edge all around because I don't want paint in here. I want bare wood so my glue sticks to it properly. So maybe when I file this edge down, it will be directly the right size for this to fit in. If not, I will also file down a bit the edges. This is quite easy to file down this type of particle wood, so shouldn't be an issue. And again, somehow let me just show you, they are exactly the same thickness. I'm holding the bottom at the same level and the top is at the same level, 18mm thickness. So yeah, and here a small error, but we will conceal that somehow. Filed everything down so they fit perfectly, put a good amount of wood glue on both parts, and let it just for a while by moving the part so it doesn't drip, sink into the wood, because part of it will go into the wood, and when I push them together, most of it will be pushed out. So I want a good portion of it to have a chance to go inside the wood to bind the fibers better. And yeah, I will just push them together and they should stay put exactly at the level that I need them to. And this is how it's going in slowly, but I'm not going to film up to the end because I don't want to push it further than it needs to be. So I'm going to gently tap it, because these tweeters were meant to be used in the dash of an Audi A4 B8 from 2010, for example. They were not meant for sealed enclosures, so they were not perfectly sealed to the outside, which means I kind of need to seal my own crevices, as you can see here, everywhere. So with some shoe glue, yeah, I know it's weird, but it sticks well to stuff like this. I used it a bunch over the years, putting it here, seeing where some holes form, putting some more, and at the end of the day I will have two sealed tweeters. Also, this speaker is drying up, looks really nice, quite flat, so good job up until now. Hopefully it will continue like this. Front is finished on both of them. Now making sure everything is sealed up in the back, all the holes that I'm not using anymore. And when this will dry up, I will do my cutting. Also adjusted the corners on one of the speakers. It had just a little bit less glue than the other. So yeah, some more glue will not do any harm. Put another layer of glue on the tweeters so we are fully sealed. Removed the caps. They were 10 camera focus please, 10 microfarad 50 volts, and they were non-polarized, which is, yeah, what you want for audio. And let me show you some small calculations. So basically 9.95 is about as close I can get to 10 microfarads. 8 ohm tweeter, they were cutting at 2000 hertz. So these tweeters were playing quite low. We will be playing them only above 4500 hertz. So the load on them should be way lower than it was in the car. I don't think they will have any problem in keeping up. So that's great. I will link this website in the description if you ever want to do some calculations yourself. Removing the staples to get this out. They are quite strong staples, so they need a bit of gentle persuasion to get half of it out, and then something like this to get the rest of it out. And it's out. Let's deal with the other ones. This isn't fitting yet. I need to cut a bit more, but shouldn't be a problem. And I decided to leave this up. It's easier to reach them when the cable is hanging down. And also the cable with its weight will pull on the metal part, so it will make the contact better. If it would be like this, it would try to make it like this apart. So this is how it will go in. But not enough space yet. So they are in place. Don't look at the screws, they are reused, so I don't recycle screws, I reuse them from things that I tear down. A bit of glue on both sides because the hole was bigger, obviously, and a ton of glue on this side on both of them, because I want these enclosures to be perfectly sealed. So now just wait for the glue to dry, and a screw here and a screw there were a bit too long and they poked out, so I needed to put some good glue on them. I think this is dry enough so I can proceed with the project. There's just a slight issue. Obviously this speaker is bigger than what we had in here, so I kind of want to get it as close to this edge as possible without touching it, and also make sure I'm not too close to these two holes. So I'm going to somewhat space it properly, because in here again we don't have that much space once we put in the tweeter. But overall, yeah, should be quite good. And I should also put in the big one. Hopefully that will not interfere with these holes, but I don't think it should. Nah, we are good. I need to have it rotated so I do not end up drilling just about where it was, because they don't have the same distance between them, the new holes with the old screws that were in there. So I want to drill as much as I can into some fresh wood. Yes, obviously I will make sure it's centered on the hole. For this one, doesn't matter where I decide it should be, it's where I will actually drill the hole. So yeah, overall I'm kind of getting excited seeing these speakers in here. And our filter will be at the bottom. I think the old one was also here, kind of a small filter. Drilled the holes exactly in the position that I want the speaker to be in. Now I can vacuum out the debris, lift it, and just make two diagonals between the holes, and then drill a hole through the center, because the big hole I will be drilling from the other side. I don't have enough room in here, but I need the hole in the center to know where it's the center. First hole is cut, and as you can see, this wood is glued together perfectly. In the pieces that I remove, I literally try to break this off, and it will not break off. So it's like it would be a single piece. Absolutely no issue whatsoever. Cut the hole with this particular tool, which is a separate video. Decent tool, good tool, but really hard to adjust. But anyway, it's doing a great job at the end of the day. Now I also need to cut in this one. and we should be perfect. Obviously I need to give it a bit of black paint, but yeah, that's simple to do. Next step, let's drill the holes for the big speaker. Again, I tried to stay away from the old holes as much as possible and not come over holes that should still be used. Also try to avoid the middle of this bad area, which is now fixed, and as strong as this glue is, basically you don't know where you repair with it. It's not even visible. No issues whatsoever, but anyway, I wanted to stay away from it, so yeah, I centered the speaker and drilling the holes now. Hope for the best. This speaker has a bit smaller diameter than what this box wants with its big hole, but we'll manage it somehow. Drilled and chamfered the holes with obviously a bigger drill. Now let's put these thingies in there. Presumably they need to be hammered in, so this cut into the material in the sides, so you can tighten them just from the other side. Obviously I don't have anything like this for the other speakers. I will just be using some random screws that I again salvaged. I must admit, these screws are nice and they fit perfectly in place. Wish I had more of them. I don't. I'm not even going to buy screws with chamfer head. I had some random screws lying around, and that's what we're using. Again, because this speaker is kind of smaller than the hole will end around here. So its rubber surround will not be able to properly seal. And it seems to me that this surround, this gasket in here, it's actually the same piece as the surround. So the gasket, surround are in one piece. It looks like that. Anyway, this is not enough for a seal, so I think I'm going to put another layer of the brown one on top, so we are sure that we are sealing in there, because the white one it's barely at the level of the rubber, so not thick enough. Put the brown layer in place. Now let's get this speaker in there. Woohoo! It's in place. Now let's tighten some nuts on these screws. Screws tightened, and it's perfectly in position, fully sealed all around. That's perfect. And I just noticed something. This is not a pass-through hole. This is not a vented voice coil. It's just a hole maybe on the production line. They need it for something, or who knows. Yay! And the first speaker is in. As you can see, this was barely touching the edge, so that second foams needed to be put in place for sure. Is something satisfying about a speaker when you... Camera, what are you focusing on? Honestly now. Something satisfying about seeing a speaker move in an enclosure, at least for me. So now let's get to this little guy. Put some thin caution tape also on the side of this particular speaker. This is much more pliable than the rubber that the speaker itself has from the factory, which got a bit hard over the years. So it should be able to seal whatever I did in there much better. And it's done. This screw and this screw were not quite long enough, and I don't have any longer, and I'm not going to go to buy some just for this. So I did a bit of countersink to allow them to reach. And if you think about it, the original ones basically had something like that on the other side. Not sure if I can show you anymore, maybe on this one, because the original design was different. So that means that if the original ones were like this, doing it like this will not make this weaker. So let's continue with the tweeter. And yes, something else, I will put a little bit of glue on every single screw head in here and on the nuts on the other side, because I don't want this coming undone by themselves. Okay, painted all of the whitish parts where I used glue. Also painted the new hole that I drilled. Yeah, it's looking really janky at the moment, but from the mesh on top of it, you basically are almost not able to see even the speakers themselves unless you shine light directly at them. So as long as it's dark, you will not be able to see any differences. Now let me install the tweeter from the other side. Also put a foam strip on the tweeter, and yes, all the holes are sealed, so we will have no issues with sealing this enclosure on the tweeter side for the moment at least. And it's actually starting to look like something botched up, but yeah, hopefully it will sound good, although on the inside it doesn't look that good. Poor little speaker. And yes, this needs to also be painted. And because this particular tweeter was never meant to work under compression, I made sure it has a bit more screws than it's supposed to. Initially I wanted it to have 6 screws, but I went for 4. I think it's enough. Second speaker is also almost ready. Glue is drying up. On this one it's already dried up internally, so I can move it. If you are thinking why did you put glue on the screws, well, I don't want them becoming loose by themselves over the years, and it's wood glue, so basically it will stick to metal, but if you insist it comes apart easily enough. So yeah, this is not permanent and I can still remove the screws if needed. Hopefully never, but yeah. Now let's put the Dayton audio filters in this bottom area. The filters fit perfectly in here. 4 holes with these protection caps on them. They also have this on the back, so you can put them on any surface. Zero chance of a short or something like that. That is glued to the PCB with I think it's hot melt, and also kept in place with this until the hot melt dries, presumably. Set it again to 4 ohms because these speakers will run in parallel, so 2 8 ohms in parallel means 4 ohms. Tweeter again is 8 ohms, exactly as this filter wants. So let's put some screws in here and keep this in place, and then start wiring slowly. Filter is in place, and yes, I'm directly soldering to it, not using connectors. Either way, I prefer it this way. Yes, keeping with the theme, screws are all different, reusing, as I said. What I want to tell you, use thick cables. Do not go to thin cables. These are quite thick, more than enough for the power that we have here. When I was a kid, built some speakers, had a decent amp. They were just playing really low, not enough volume, and only after a good while I realized I used way too thin cables. At that time, for me, a cable was a cable. Had no concept that it couldn't carry the power, and the voltage would drop, and consequently the volume. But yeah, use thick cables. I will be using a bit thinner for the tweeter itself, because the tweeter is getting less power, but with the tweeter we have a different problem. I have no idea which side is positive and which is negative, because it's an audio a car audio tweeter, and they did not mark it in any way, because there was a connector and you couldn't put the connector backwards. But here we can put the wires backwards, so that is going to be fun.